Few things in life are as fascinating as discovering a technique that promises to transform your reality in a matter of minutes. And it's not an exaggeration. We're talking about something that combines thought and gesture in an almost magical way. But the truth is that magic has nothing to do with it. It's neuroscience, it's energy, it's intention directed with clarity. This technique, considered the fastest within the law of attraction, is a true shortcut for those who want immediate results, as long as your mind is in the right place. And look, when the mind is clean, aligned, and focused, the universe responds with impressive speed. The curious thing is that many people think they need complex rituals, long meditations, or years of practice to manifest something. But what really works is the simple, the direct, what can be done right now. While you listen to this video, for example, this quantum command, as they call it, is a mixture of clear intention with a symbolic physical gesture. A snap of the fingers, a touch on the chest, a phrase said firmly, and boom, you give the command to the universe. Seems like little? It's exactly what the brain needs to align with the vibration of what you want. The key is in preparing the mind. There's no point in applying this technique with haste, disbelief, or skepticism in automatic mode. The brain needs to associate that gesture with the power of your intention, and this requires presence. Have you ever imagined pressing the send button on an empty email? It's the same principle. The gesture alone does nothing, but when loaded with intention, it becomes a powerful trigger. And the beauty of it all is that anyone, anywhere, can start now. In fact, what if everything you've been trying for months could start working with a change of thought? There is a silent, but extremely powerful chain between what is thought and what is lived. Thought generates feeling. Feeling generates action, and action generates results. It's a simple cycle, but one that most ignore in the automatic nature of daily life. Those who understand this begin to realize that controlling thought is not just a matter of well-being. It's a creation tool. After all, everything that exists in your life today already started inside your head, in the form of an idea, fear, desire, or doubt. Reality is just the delayed reflection of the mind. And when we talk about controlling thoughts, it's not about becoming a positivity machine. It's about understanding that every time you repeat, "Nothing works out for me," you are literally training your brain to confirm this story. It begins to ignore opportunities, to see problems where they don't exist, and to repeat behaviors that sabotage your goals. On the other hand, those who begin to internally repeat phrases like, "Things are working out," "I am capable," "Everything conspires in my favor," create a new emotional foundation. This foundation changes the action, and action, inevitably, changes the result. A good exercise is to pay attention to the phrases that dominate the mind throughout the day. Often, without realizing it, the person spends hours feeding thoughts that have never led them anywhere. It's like throwing bad seeds into fertile soil. What will grow? Nothing useful. But if these seeds are exchanged for conscious thoughts, aligned with what you truly want, the terrain changes. And this terrain, fertile and well cared for, is the ideal place to apply quantum commands, which we'll understand more deeply now. Quantum commands are like invisible shortcuts that the mind understands without having to think much. You know when someone snaps their fingers and you automatically pay attention? Or when you hear a song that transports you to a moment from the past? That's exactly it. The brain associates gestures, sounds, or phrases with deep meanings. And when this mechanism is used with intention, it transforms into a powerful trigger. A simple gesture can function as a secret code between you and the universe, capable of instantly reprogramming the mental and emotional state. Imagine this as creating internal buttons. You choose a gesture, for example, placing your hand on your chest, closing your eyes, and saying in a firm voice, "I allow." Every time this command is activated, the brain recognizes, we're entering manifestation mode. Over time, this trigger gains strength, becomes automatic. It works like putting the body in action position. It's like an athlete who takes a deep breath before the start. The gesture communicates to the mind that it's time to enter another state. The secret is to train this gesture with consistency and intention. There's no point in using the command once and expecting a miracle. It's repetition that generates association. These commands don't just serve to create. They also serve to stop what holds you back. For example, Whenever a sabotaging thought comes, like, I'm not good enough, or this is not for me, you can raise your arm and twist your hand, as if erasing it from the air. This gesture sends a clear message to the brain. This no longer represents me. And the mind, like an obedient child when well instructed, begins to respond. Over time, this simple movement becomes a shield. Anxiety hits, gesture. Doubt appears, command. It's like installing emotional shortcuts that protect you from the old programming that only pulls you back. Want a practical example? Create your personal command. Choose a gesture, a word, a combination of both. Use it when you feel gratitude, when you're inspired, when you achieve something, even if small. Reinforce this command in these moments of high vibration so that it carries this feeling. Then, use it in moments when you need to reconnect. It may seem silly at first, but after a few weeks, this gesture becomes almost magical. And then, when it's already anchored in your mind, we'll see how it fits into an even simpler system, and much more effective than you imagine. The beauty of this technique lies precisely in its simplicity. And look, this confuses many people. Some believe that, for it to work, it needs to be complicated, technical, full of difficult words, or almost esoteric practices. But that's not how the universe responds. In fact, the simpler, the faster the brain understands. It's like learning to swim. No one starts by diving into the high seas. First, you wet your feet, get used to the water, and only then do you start to float. With the law of attraction, it's the same thing. Simplicity is not weakness, it's wisdom. Many people get stuck because they believe they need to understand everything before starting. But the mind doesn't work with explanations. It works with repetition and emotion. If you associate a gesture with a desire with emotional strength, the brain doesn't need to know the why to start acting. And the universe doesn't ask for an academic thesis either. It responds to vibration. That's why quantum commands work better when they are simple and consistent. A touch on the wrist, a snap of the fingers, a word. Easy to remember, easy to apply, easy to repeat. The secret lies precisely there, in what you can use even when you're tired, stressed, or out of time. Some people want to start with the most complex formula, as if it were nobler or more effective. But the simple is what sticks to the routine. It's what you can use in the middle of the day, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of pressure. If the technique is too difficult, you'll abandon it. But if it's simple as brushing your teeth, it fits into your life like a habit. And habit changes destiny. By the way, you know that feeling that you've tried everything and nothing works? Often, what's missing is not more effort. It's just simplifying. And from there, everything begins to flow with an almost unbelievable naturalness. When talking about the law of attraction, many people still turn up their noses because they think it's too abstract, distant from reality, as if it were a philosophy floating in the air. But the truth is that, when we translate these concepts into everyday situations, everything begins to make sense. Imagine the mind as a bucket and the universe as an immense beach of golden sand. If the bucket is leaky, crooked, or upside down, it doesn't matter how much sand is there. Nothing will be retained. Now, when the bucket is intact, aligned, and firm, the sand enters with ease. This simple metaphor explains why some people receive so much and others almost nothing. It's about the internal state, and not about deservingness or luck. Another practical example is the Wi-Fi password. You can have the most modern phone in the world, but if the password is wrong, there's no connection. With the mind, it's the same. You can have the best intention, but if the internal code, your thoughts and emotions, is misaligned, the connection with the universe fails. And this password is often blocked by old beliefs, unhealed resentments, or a limited view of yourself. That's why quantum commands work like an update to this system. They help clean the mental cache, tear down old files, and install a new version of yourself. And if you think about it, we already use such commands in daily life without realizing it. When we say phew after a relief, or put our hand on our forehead when something worries us, we are activating gestures that represent emotional states. The difference now is that, by using this with intention, we can take the reins of our reality. So, it's not about inventing something new. It's about giving meaning to what we already do. The touch on the chest can mean, I am present. The smile, even forced, can trigger dopamine production. The body understands. The mind responds. And it's in this simplicity disguised as magic that the true power resides. Sometimes, the most transformative lessons in life don't come from big events. They are born from small, almost imperceptible moments, but ones that leave a deep mark. When I was a child, there was a gesture I made without even understanding why. Whenever bad thoughts invaded my head, fears, worries, guilt, I instinctively pushed the air with my hand, as if pushing it away from me. It wasn't something taught. It didn't come from books, nor from advice. It was natural, an almost innocent gesture, but loaded with intention. And the most surprising thing, it worked. The mind calmed down, the anguish diminished. The body seemed to understand that that thought was not welcome. For many years, I didn't give importance to this. But with time, diving into studies of the mind, energy, and emotional reprogramming, everything made sense. That movement was more than a childish response. It was a command. A simple gesture, repeated with intention, became a kind of internal password. A code that interrupted sabotaging thoughts before they gained strength. And this is the most fascinating. The body understands what you teach it. The brain, over time, responds automatically. Repetition transforms the gesture into ritual. The ritual becomes habit, and habit shapes behavior. The command is installed. Simple as that. This gesture, which was born spontaneously, became part of my adult life. In difficult moments of anxiety, insecurity, or doubt, I returned to it. And the response was always the same. Focus, clarity, presence. It's as if that movement had the power to reorient the mental compass. And this taught me something powerful. Sometimes, we already carry within us a tool that just needs to be awakened. A gesture, a word, a look inside. And that's how quantum commands work. They are simple, but profound tools that reconnect you with your essence and can be used by anyone, every day. And the most incredible thing? Many people have been doing this, and the results have been impressive. One of the most powerful things about this type of technique is that it doesn't remain only in the field of theory. It manifests in real life, of real people, with real stories, and that's where everything gains strength. Because one thing is to hear that thought changes reality. Another, quite different, is to see someone who carried chronic pains for years simply wake up without pain after applying a simple command for a few days. And this is not an exaggeration. There are dozens of reports from people who, after years of trying treatments, medicines, and therapies, found relief when they started using quantum commands with intention and frequency, as if the body had waited for this signal to initiate an internal healing process. There was the case of a woman who suffered from severe anxiety attacks, the kind that tighten the chest and prevent even leaving the house. She heard about the technique, chose a personal gesture, placing both hands over the heart and repeating, "I am safe on my path." At first, it seemed strange, uncomfortable even, but she insisted. Every time she felt anxiety rising, she stopped for 30 seconds, made the gesture, took a deep breath, and repeated the phrase. In a few weeks, the symptoms began to decrease. And in 2 months, she went back to doing things that previously seemed impossible, like getting on a bus alone or going to the market. It was as if the command re-educated her mind to recognize safety within her own body. Another striking case was that of an indebted man, suffocated by financial problems, who kept mentally repeating, "This will never get better." Until, after understanding the thought-feeling-action cycle, he decided to create a new command. He began to say, "Money comes to me with ease," while rubbing his hands with intention, as if activating a creative energy. At first, he himself laughed at this. But something curious happened. Opportunities began to arise. A friend referred him to a project, he had new income ideas, and gradually got out of the hole. The situation didn't change by miracle. It changed because he changed the internal code, the vibration, the attitude, and the gesture became a reprogramming ritual. These reports are important because they take us out of doubt and put us in the field of possibility. When we see someone like us, with real problems, real pains, real challenges, achieving such profound changes with such a simple tool, a new voice is born within us. The one that says, if it was possible for them, maybe it's possible for me too. And it's at this point that transformation begins, not in the technique itself, but in the belief that it can work. The proof is in the results. And one of the most powerful rituals, which has generated incredible results, is precisely one that can be done in front of the mirror, with you looking into your own eyes. There is something powerful in looking into your own eyes, not in the bathroom mirror just to brush your teeth, but in a moment of real, deep, raw presence. Most people avoid this confrontation. They avoid it because they know that you can't lie. The mirror shows more than the face. It reveals what is stored behind the gaze. And that's why the mirror technique is so effective. Because it goes straight to the point. It breaks the barrier of distraction, breaks the shell of self-sabotage, and puts you face to face with who matters most in this whole process, you. And at this moment, when you face yourself with truth, the subconscious is more open than ever to receive new instructions. It works like this. You stand in front of the mirror, take a deep breath, and affirm in a clear, firm, confident voice, even if at first it seems forced. Phrases like, "Congratulations, you did it," or "You are worthy of living the best," reprogram the mind in a way that most underestimate. When this is done looking directly into your own eyes, the emotional impact is much greater. It's as if the mind said, "Okay, this is serious." This technique doesn't just serve to reinforce self-esteem. It's a tool for vibrational reprogramming. You can say, "I am capable. My life is changing. Everything is flowing in my favor." What matters is that the command is clear and loaded with intention. Many people get emotional in the first days. They cry, freeze, feel discomfort. And that's good. It's a sign that the shell is cracking, that the internal system is being stirred. After a few days, the energy begins to change. The gaze strengthens. The voice gains firmness. The mind begins to believe in what before seemed just a memorized phrase. It's as if the mirror ceased to be a glass surface and transformed into a direct bridge with your deepest self. A portal between who you are today and who you are becoming. And the most interesting thing is that this simple ritual, done for 2 or 3 minutes a day, has the power to stir deep layers of the subconscious. And when the mind changes at this level, reality follows. And it follows quickly. This technique, as simple as it may seem, has transformed entire routines. People who were emotionally destroyed began to rise. Insecure professionals started to believe in their own potential again. Relationships were restored. Previously blocked paths opened up. And it all started with the most intimate and honest gesture possible. Speaking to yourself with truth. Looking into the eyes with courage. Repeating the truth you want to live until it stops being a phrase and becomes identity. And if this can be done in front of a mirror, in silence, with you and your presence, imagine what happens when you combine this with even deeper and more consistent commands applied every day. The mind is like a garden. Everything you plant in it grows. If what you put there are seeds of doubt, scarcity, and fear, that's what blooms. But if every day, even if for a few minutes, you plant ideas of abundance, confidence, deservingness, something powerful begins to happen. It's like watering the right soil with the right intention. Reprogramming the mind is not a mystical, unattainable process reserved for superior minds. It's an accessible exercise which begins with small daily actions, simple, consistent, intentional. And it takes just a small adjustment in thought to initiate a chain transformation. Think about what happens when you change the route on GPS by just 1 degree. At first, almost nothing seems different. But after a few kilometers, you're already on another path. With the mind, it's like that too. You can start today with a positive affirmation, with a quantum command, with an empowerment gesture, and in a few weeks, your perception of life completely changes. Problems may still exist, but the way you deal with them changes. And when you change, everything around begins to respond differently. This reprogramming doesn't require hours of your day. It requires intention, constancy, and choice. 5 minutes. That's the time needed to begin altering patterns that have been dominating your life for years. 5 minutes a day, applying a sequence of commands, affirmations, and gestures that realign your mind with the reality you desire. And most importantly, without depending on a miraculous technique or someone to tell you what to do. It's you with yourself. It's looking in the mirror and saying, "Today, I choose to plant something new," and repeat, and insist. Because the mind needs to be trained like a muscle. The more you train, the stronger it gets. And when it's strong, there's no external circumstance that can bring down what is firm inside. Over time, you realize that you no longer need to try so hard. New beliefs become your natural language. What was once forced, like pushing phrases you barely believed, now flows. You begin to feel what you once only repeated. The connection between thought, emotion, and action becomes aligned. And this internal coherence is what makes the law of attraction inevitable. It's when what you think, feel, and do walk in the same direction. And all this begins with small rituals, done with intention. When the mind begins to be reprogrammed, something very curious happens. You begin to perceive patterns that previously went unnoticed. Phrases you automatically repeated. Emotions you normalized. Situations you tolerated as if they were part of life. It's as if dirty lenses begin to be cleaned, revealing what was always there, but you couldn't see. And it's at this point that the most important invitation of this journey comes: to continue. Not to stop at almost. Not to abandon when the first changes appear. Because real transformation happens in deepening. It's when you make the new mental state a new identity. The mind, just like the body, needs continuous training. You don't go to the gym once and expect to get strong. With mental commands, it's the same thing. Repetition is what solidifies. Consistency is what establishes the new neural path. And that's where the importance of creating your own rituals comes in. It can be a morning sequence, quantum command, deep breathing, mirror affirmation. At night, a visualization, a spoken gratitude, a gesture of energetic cleansing. What matters is not following a rigid formula. It's building a routine that makes sense to you. Something that is yours, that works in your life, and that you can sustain with lightness. And the more you practice, the clearer it becomes. This is not an isolated technique. It's a new lifestyle, a different way of thinking, feeling, acting. A version of yourself that operates from intention, presence, and consciousness. And the most incredible thing is that this deepening doesn't require more effort. It requires more surrender, more listening, more internal alignment. It's not about dominating the mind with rigidity, but about guiding it with softness and firmness. And when you reach this point, when the gesture becomes ritual, the affirmation becomes belief, and thought becomes direction, then you are no longer trying to manifest. You are living in a state of constant manifestation. Now tell me, after all this, will you still continue to hand over control of your life to chance? Will you really let your mind repeat the same patterns that keep you stuck, while everything could be different with just 5 minutes a day? The truth is that you already have everything you need. The tool is there. The gesture is there. The intention, if it's not yet firm, can start today. Because the question is no longer, does it work? The question now is, will you apply it, or will you continue waiting? And if you were to do this for just 1 week, just 7 days of real practice, with simple commands, with the mirror, with focus, what could change? What result would you see? What new version of yourself would begin to emerge? The transformation has already begun within you. Now it's time to sustain it. And if something here touched you, made you think differently, then do the following. Comment below which of these techniques you will apply today. Share your experience. And, of course, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because there's much more coming, and you won't want to miss it.